Hey everybody, JT here, Serenity Farms prepping. Was just walking by my raised beds and my greenhouse, and the thought came to me about a growing trend I'm hearing of called Agrihoods. So, what an agrihood is a community, a small town, a small city, even some large cities are installing massive, I say massive, gardens in the center of their communities, their towns, their cities, wherever they are. The idea behind it being that the people in those neighborhoods can grow their own food and attempt to eat better, make better ecological decisions, cut down their food cost, help the environment, all the feel greeny reasons and all the reasons that you and I know we need to be doing for food that's safe to eat. But there are issues with these agrihoods. There is some good and there is some bad, like with anything. Okay, so the good is a lot of the things I just mentioned. If they're installed properly, it's very good for the environment. We don't want all these poisons in the ground leaching into our food and our water supply and our bodies. You can control what you grow. On paper, you have hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of volunteers to come and take care of the gardens. Now, obviously, some of these gardens are just too big to fathom, and that's where a lot of the negative aspects of agrihoods factor in. Okay, who decides what is grown? Do we plant corn? Do we plant potatoes? Do we plant peas? Do we plant cucumbers, pumpkin, yada, yada? Someone's going to be making those decisions. Someone has to make those decisions. Yes, it could be a vote. That always works. So when people don't like the way the votes went, how does that work? Is somebody still liable? I mean, did everyone sign up for it? And will these people honor their commitments regardless of the foods being grown are ones of their choice or not? If none of the foods that you wanted grown are going to be planted, but you signed up for the agrihood idea, you're committed. Can you buy your way out of having to show up every Saturday to weed your particular section of garden, or pick, or plant, or hoe, or pull rocks? You're never going to get everyone to participate as they should. Are you going to just assign individual plots on a very large plot of land, and then each person or family or couple families has their little plot and they grow whatever they want. That sounds better to me than taking 1,000 acres and saying this is what we're going to grow and this is what everyone's going to do. But think of a town or a city that you know of. And where do they have the land? Enough within a center city, because the houses are going to be all around it, which leads to another dilemma that is occurring to some of these Agrihoods, because there's hundreds of them already being built, from what I understand, is urban sprawl. Is your land, if you found you're not going to find 5,000 acres, earmark 500 of it in the middle for the food plots, and then all the houses are going to build around the exterior of it. They're going to creep. People are going to get greedy. It could be doomed to failure. You're not attempting to start a new small town or city. You're planning on enhancing or enriching the one that you're already part of, which once again leads to, do you have the land? Like, for instance, next to me, the closest town next to me, about 12 miles away, is about 3,500 people. I can picture a specific plot of land in my mind right now, right beside a river, that would be perfect. Oh, hang on, someone's here. All right, sorry about that. UPS guy. So the Agrihood, positives and negatives. It could work, but like anything else, it can easily go sideways, and then it ends up turning into a battle, a fight, the largest overgrown weed bed you've ever seen, which quickly gets turned into more housing and makes the situation we're all getting ready to experience worse. My opinion. Now, I'm not saying it shouldn't be tried. I just understand people, and I think, anybody watching this video does as well, and you understand how quickly it very likely will go sideways. On the surface, it's a great idea, I think. I don't want to be anywhere near a town or a city to live in, but for those people who are there and have convinced themselves they can't leave, just like everybody who did this didn't have a choice. Bullshit. There's always a choice. So, because I look at my 21 raised beds here, 3 greenhouses, 1, 2, 3. My former goat pen that's going to have probably 8 to 12 more raised beds, and probably put them in a greenhouse just to protect them and extend my growing seasons. Maybe not. I don't know. But that particular area, I will be taking bucket after tractor bucket full of goat and chicken poop out of there to get a bunch of people who want to buy a bucket or 2 each. That's the best you can get. But anyway, my raised beds, I tend to them all by myself right now. But Dad and I have a spot in the back where we're probably going to put 20 to 30 more raised beds, another greenhouse, a large one. And that's right in the middle of an area where we are going to try and get the community tiny homes, campers all around it this year. Not right on top of it, obviously, set so it looks like a little campsite. Those people will be required to come up. Everyone will have a couple of their own raised beds. But ultimately, whatever food is grown there is community food. And then everyone has their own raised bed or two to do what they want to do. But all the other ones are community raised beds, and things need to be done when they need to be done there. Now, I will set that greenhouse up hydroponically because it's a beautiful sunlit area. The river's kind of close, not close enough for me to draw the water that I need to, but on a 30 or 40 foot greenhouse with a rain gutter on each side, I can have quite ample water supply if I pay attention. Plus, we have a big IBC tote on a tractor that we can fill from our rain gutters here and just bring it back there and drain into another tank. It's work, but we're going to need food. But that small community of just 20 people are going to have some disagreements. Hopefully not arguments, just disagreements. We are all going to agree to disagree. And I believe the biggest issue, hopefully the only issue, if there has to be an issue, is you didn't show up for the community weeding weekend. Now, with the big towns and cities and such, are they going to grow all their food and then have farmers markets every weekend to sell what they're producing after they've taken what they need for themselves? This is why, let's use New York City and Central Park as an example. Central Park is rather large. Is it large enough to feed 10 to 12 million legal residents? And in a place like New York City, you'd have to have a 16-foot high fence around it with razor wire because you know it's going to be looted, robbed, stolen, maybe in a fit of rage, destroyed, drive through. You just know. It's New York City. That's how shit goes there. But even if everything went perfect, they couldn't feed 10 to 12 million people. Even if they installed some mega hydroponic greenhouses, because there it'd be easy to produce year round. And they have floating rafts that hold 100 heads of lettuce, and the floating rafts literally float around the entire greenhouse. There's raft after raft. There's tens of thousands of heads of lettuce. Okay, now I use lettuce, but lettuce actually, nutrition-wise, it's just water. There are a few nutrients in it, but you're not going to live on it, okay? The sustainable foods you need to get vitamins and minerals, those can be grown hydroponically as well, but they take up a lot more space. They're not 30 days and done like lettuce and broccoli and basil and your herbs. But what I'm getting at is, if your area suddenly broaches the idea of an Agrihood, a small town about an hour from me, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people, There's a little brewery there we like to go. They have a small area where a mill used to be on the ground with a big sign. It's fenced in for animals, not humans. And it says, community garden of this town. It's maybe 50 yards long by 30 yards wide. So while it may be, it's a spot where members of the community can go there and they pay for a little plot within that plot and they raise something. It's not anything that's even close to being able to feed the whole town. It appears there's enough land where they could, but for some reason they're not. They may have started this and they're waiting to see if more and more people want to get involved and they'll expand it. But nonetheless, we stopped. The gate wasn't locked. You could go in and out. There was nothing growing. I just wanted to see what it was like. That maybe that's why the gate wasn't locked, because there's nothing. But nonetheless, what I'm getting at is I could have hopped over the fence if I had wanted to. It's kind of off the beaten path, but on their main road. Deer were going to get over this, which I've seen deer in that area, even though it's on a main road. It's a main road in the middle of nowhere. But I drove by there several weekends last summer and never saw anyone there. Now, granted, I drive by in 5 minutes and an hour later I drive back by. Could have been the timing. Someone would have been there sooner or later. I just would have hit it. So if your little town's thinking about doing it, you have to decide based on some of the things I just said, some things I haven't said, things that you're thinking of already that I'm just not mentioning, and figure out if that's going to be right for you, and weigh the positives and the negatives of an Agrihood community garden even, and realize it's a good idea until the shit hits the fan, and then all bets are going to be off. That thing's going to be pillaged, looted, and raped in a day or two. And it would likely be dangerous for you to even go there to try and harvest your own vegetables, either while you're doing it or on your way back home. Because one, if you're doing it after the shit hit the fan, you're probably walking, maybe on a bike, if there's nothing else, you know what I mean? So, Agrihood, likely to be commingled with the words sustainable development and diversity and equity, which already just makes me want to puke. So I'm not saying that it should never be done. I'm just saying you probably should never do it. All right. As usual, I got long, but it's what I do. So, in your own backyard, you can put a lot of raised beds if you got them on a rotational basis. I mean, an 8-foot wide by 8-foot long greenhouse can grow an unbelievable amount of food if you set it up right hydroponically. That will keep you and your family going. But remember, people will likely see it, and at some point they are going to assume what's yours is theirs. And if you don't agree, they're going to want to take it anyway. My best advice is to get out here in the middle of nowhere like I am. Okay, really, I went too long. JT, signing off.